I'm Ryan Milton from Team Flex. Today, we're going to take a look at NPC Pro Qualifier. We're going to look at a top 5, Class E actually, which contains a Pro Card winner as well as some other of the top athletes here, placing top 5 in the NPC. Great video to highlight what's going on across Bikini stages right now, what's winning Pro Cards, and ultimately what you need to be focused on if your goal is to do your best on any stage, get a Pro Card or go beyond that. And that's what I do on this channel all the time. So if you're new here, subscribe, hang out. You get a lot of tips, a lot of knowledge, a lot of education that will help you do better on stage. It's the whole purpose behind the channel. I hear it helping people every single day. All right, let's get down to it. So as I said, we're looking at North Americans, and this is our Pro Card winner here, Sandy. Over here, we have Holly. She's taking second in this class. And over here, we have Nama. She's taking third, okay? So these are the 3 athletes we're going to look at here for starters, and then we will bounce back over and into the rest of this class here for the top 5. So as we're going to note in Bikini, every time it's all about the hourglass shape. All of the athletes are going to represent that. Let's talk about Sandy's look as it is here, right? So she's got good fullness to the shoulders, good overall deltoid shape here, roundness that's not missing. It's not depleted. It's not flattened out. Sometimes you do see that on competitors, but she's got good front delt, lateral delt. I'm sure when we get to the back, we'll see rear. That sets her upper base for that hourglass shape, the top portion of that hourglass, right? She is a competitor also that has a really good lat sweep here. Those wide lats help sweep the shoulders down into her waist. So next biggest point bikini competitors you want to be looking at is going to be your waistline, your midsection here. This should be tiny, tight, and flat, basically, is what judges are looking for. No extra body fat holding. She does not have that. She's got a very narrow structure compared to the shoulders. That creates that overall hourglass type of a look right there, at least the upper portion of that. Lower body-wise, what judges want to see is exact symmetry. So we should see this, again, balance with what's going on up top. So lower body, glute structure here, we can see that. We see good balance in the quads and the hamstrings, overall fullness in those quads, hamstrings that match, and just overall very symmetrical, very balanced look to create that hourglass shape. We'll be able to assess, obviously, posterior chain a little bit more here when we pop over to the back pose. But she really does slam dunk that look. It's a pretty complete bikini type of a physique here. I will note she is, a little bit lean on a lot of this, right? We can see her leg just has a little bit more of that conditioning. A lot of times when I see that, you're starting to get, just a little too lean, but her conditioning was nailed here perfectly. It fits her physique quite well. Good lines in the obliques, good separation in the glute structure, quad line here, shoulder up top. So very, very complete look for her. And she, she wins that Pro Card from the front going on to the Pro League. What I would suggest, a little bit more fullness to the shoulders, pulling this waist a bit tighter, add more density to the glute, a little bit more with the quads and hamstrings too, fullness wise, right? So a lot of times when you're going from NPC into IFBB, what your focus becomes, building a little bit more muscle, a little bit more shape, and figuring that out, right? And that's probably going to be where she needs to head too. Now looking at Holly in this group, so Holly has a lot of the similarities, but some clear differences as well. We can see good shoulder fullness, a great sweep, tight sweep into the waist, in other words here. Good balance into the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings. What stands out though that is a little bit different, so tad softer conditioning right away. I can see that, right? So not as much in these deep cuts here coming through. So she's just a little bit probably softer than Sandy, the first place and Pro Card winner in this group. And she is a little bit less muscular up top. So Bikini has really started to hammer out the delts a little bit more recently. We're seeing that play out across pretty much all stages now. And I think it has a lot to do with the induction of Fit Model. That's basically in here. And now, Fit Model was supposed to be Bikini as of 10 years ago. Well, it's kind of pushed Bikini a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more muscle, a little bit more shape, because judges want that very clear delineation between Fit Model and Bikini, and they even made that in the rules. So, for Holly here, maybe just a little bit more fullness in those delts, bring that through a little more, maybe some more width to the lat. She does have a very nice, narrow waist effect here. It really does create that hourglass very, very well. I think, honestly, if she just improved her conditioning a bit, maybe filled out the shoulders a little, that would be, right there in that Pro Card slot. Looking over here now at Nama in third, so we can see good overall shoulder shape. Good taper into the midsection, good balance in the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings. Some clear differences on her physique, though. Not as much going on up top here, right? So definitely still has the delts and the shape, but they look pretty depleted, more flattened out, right? That's definitely, an effect where, again, if you got athletes pushing fullness like Sandy in this group, it's going to make a very big difference. So, you know, a little bit more fullness in the shoulders probably go a long way for her. She does have a very tight midsection, very good taper in. That's a really good aesthetic overall, but not enough fullness coming through in the shoulders. And also lower body, same kind of thing going on here, right, with the glutes. So the glutes definitely have good shape. A little bit depleted in the upper glute, though. It's more flattened out, needs more fullness, more upper glute work. A lot of times, though, when you start to see this, you know, on competitors, is actually a lot of how they kind of peak to their physique in, right? So sometimes you need to actually just peak a little bit differently, fill it out a little bit more, and, you know, it can be right there. But her conditioning is great, shows oblique lines, good lines in the glutes, the quads. Up top, everything is very complete. Everything's showing through well. Biggest difference I see is just fullness, right? So that's one of those things where it's either adding more muscle or, you know, changing your peak approach. And it's one of those experiments you kind of got to figure out as you go. Let's take a look from the back, though. Full story is always told. However, I would be surprised if the things I said in the front are not relevant in the back. They usually are. So here again, we got Sandy in the middle. We can see just some of that shoulder coming through, that roundness, that fullness, rear delt here, lateral delt. You know, again, I said she had that. That really creates that upper piece of that hourglass shape for her. It tapers in at the waist very, very well. And lower body, we do see good overall structure with the glutes here. There's good development, solid in every way. Upper glute is developed and pronounced. We can see that roundness, that fullness. We do see the tie-in, slight separation between glute, hamstring, tie-in coming through, and overall good balance between her legs. Again, leveling up, it's just, you know, more muscle, bringing that through some more. So adding more upper glute, more overall glute density, pulling this tie-in out even more from building more muscle, not necessarily chasing condition, and a little bit more fullness and structure in those legs, I think would be very, very beneficial for her. But again, slam dunk look, she wins that pro card. That would be my feedback going to the pro leagues. Biggest difference we can see now here on Holly in the back, she's got that good shoulder shape, everything tapers in well. Again, the condition, right? So it stands out to me, just a little bit of a softer look here. Not bad. A lot of competitors, you know, bring different variances of conditioning, but it is the thing that is kind of going between these two here, the biggest difference I'm seeing across the board. So she, you know, appears to have a little bit more balanced, you know, structure in her glutes and everything from the back. It almost can kind of overpower what's going on up top, and that a lot of times is actually coming from maybe having a little bit softer condition, a little more body fat on the glutes, etc. Right? So we do see that here. I also think her upper glute needs a little bit of work from the back. We can see that a little more roundness, fullness there. She is pulling the tie-in through pretty well and good structure in the legs, but you know, again, her glutes kind of do throw off symmetry-wise. They're a little bit, you know, heavy, we could call them here, compared to what's going on up top. Overall, though, very, very competitive physique. Some small tweaks, you know, and that could be a pro card right there. Looking over here now at Nama, this is where, you know, we can see the shoulder shape, tapers in, everything's good. It is more depleted, though. It is less fullness, it is less roundness, and lower body-wise, it's very, you know, you can definitely see that the glutes here are a bit underpowered. You're not getting a lot of that 3D effect, a lot of that pop effect, not as much from the upper right. And we noted that in that front pose. So more mass, more size, more fullness, more building the upper glute, overall glute development, pull through that tie in some more. And honestly, adding more size, pretty much just overall to her physique is going to be the advantage for her to continue to place better and move up. By the way, if you're watching the channel and you're like, okay, this is great, I'm learning so much, I want to know, though, what are my spots? What do I need to work on? Go do my free trial, okay? We are going to get rid of this. It's been decided. This is going to go away. We're going to be doing something different. It's still going to be a great opportunity for all the viewers out here, but we are going to get rid of this 7-day free trial as it sits today. So you are in the last windows of time where you're going to be able to get this thing as it is laid out currently. So definitely check this out, teamfflex.com/7-day trial. You get to train with me free for 7 days. I can show you exactly what you need to be doing, training split wise, nutrition wise, posing wise, physique analysis wise, answer all your questions, whatever it is. You will gain a lot of direction and a lot of traction in your goals and whatever you want to accomplish if you come do this. I hear repeatedly all the time from people that came through. I'll get a DM from them 6 months later, something like that, and they'll be like, hey, I just won this. I just won the overall. I just got my pro card. I did this. And it was, you know, part of it was because of the tweaks you gave me on whatever day in that trial, and it was amazing. And I went on to, you know, so people are getting great experience. It's an awesome opportunity. We're going to actually make even, you know, cooler experiences for you. But as it sits right now, this is going to go away. Grab it while you can. teamfflex.com/7-day trial. Come join me, and I'd love to work with you. All right. Here we go for, you know, the rest of Class E. So 4th and 5th. So we have in 4th, Amanda, and we have in 5th, Nicole. Okay, so as we move down into these placings, you tend to see a little bit more what is really winning and where things are starting to move out a little bit. Again, though, at these pro qualifiers, everybody's in a very, very dialed zone. This is very good representations of criteria all the way across the board. Okay, so let's take a look at Amanda. So Amanda has good overall shoulder shape, a little bit of that lat sweep, pulls into the waist pretty well, good glute structure in the lower body, good balance between the quads and hamstrings. Some things that stand out to me instantly, traps. Okay, so this is something that you don't see a lot on a lot of competitors, but it can actually make a bikini competitor look too much over muscled. Sometimes, competitors be coming from different backgrounds, or maybe they have different muscle activations, things like that, where that trap, and here, honestly, her hair could have covered it and we'd never know about it. But since it's here in this shot, got to address it because that does come up a lot, especially the NPC. Where that can be a little bit too much of an aggressive look. It can look like too much muscle. It can make judges think, okay, you have too much muscle up top, right? So that's kind of what we see. But overall, looking at her shoulders, not as filled out, not as rounded, not as full as what Sandy's got going here. So I think that's, another key critical factor there. Her midsection is tight, oblique lines cutting through, everything looks good. Lower body structure is really, really good. I do think her quads just slightly overpower what's going on with the glutes. So that's another one of those areas, rebalancing that, bringing that through, but a little more fullness to the shoulders, bring down the traps a bit, kind of pull the quad down just a little bit there to balance out with the glutes more. And, she's going to be moving up in these placings. Looking over here now at our fifth, Nicole. So Nicole has a pretty much more aggressive look, probably the most aggressive look out of the lineup. So she's got pretty big shoulders here coming through. We do see a lot of veins, bicep veins, forearm veins. She's bigger and she's leaner. We can see that in the rectus abdominis here, her abdominal muscles. We can see that in the oblique. We start to see a little feathering right here, even into the serratus and stuff. So again, she's got a pretty good structure, a lot of good, physique lines there. Everything's coming through, but it is one of those things where it could be too aggressive of a look for bikini. Probably need to soften it up just a little bit here, maybe bring down the shoulders a bit, soften that look up overall, but good balance between the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings here as it sits. Just maybe pulling a little too aggressive on the muscle and the condition there, which again, some of the best feedback you can really get, because it's very easy to change that for the next ones. Okay, let's look from the back here, get the final full story. And again, if you watch this far, I appreciate it. Comment, let me know what you're thinking of the channel. Let me know what you want to see next, whatever you want, and we'll bring it to the channel. If you want me to review, your show, your physique, drop it in the comments. I'll hit that. Okay, let's go. So from the back here, last bit to look at, Amanda here, we got good overall shoulder shape, pulls through in the waist here again, lower body wise, we do see some good structure, good tie-ins coming through here. What stands out again is just, a little bit more that we don't see the traps here because, the hair, that's good. The shoulders could use a little more fullness though. They still could, a little bit more there. I think we could, see that taper enhance a little bit more, some lats, maybe posing tweak there. And lower body wise, a little bit more of that fullness in the glutes, a little bit more upper glute there, kind of looks a little bit under here in those spots, and then maybe balancing out the quads and the hamstrings a little bit. Glutes do tend to be just a tad bit like overpowering here in this back pose. So that would be what I would suggest there, tweaks I would make. Now looking here at Nicole from the back, she had a very aggressive shoulders from the front. We're not really getting as much of that from the back here, which is interesting, right? Sometimes that does happen though, depending how you pose. So it really does kind of make her lower body just look a little bit too dominant here in this shot overall. So again, maybe posing tweaks, maybe muscle to work on, a little bit more rear delt, a little more fullness there. But either way, it makes the glutes and the lower body just look a little bit too powerful, a little bit too dominant. We are seeing, this quad sweep here. We are seeing a lot of glute density, good shape overall, but, the symmetry is a little bit off, upper to lower, and maybe even a little bit heavy in certain muscle groups like the quads compared. So that's, again, reshaping, rebalancing that type of a look to bring it through. But again, keep in mind, my videos, we're looking at, top fives at pro qualifiers, best athletes in the NPC, all great representations of criteria, everything you need to know. So let me know, do you like the direction of bikini? Do you like where this is going? Do you like what these athletes are looking like? Comment down below and let me know what you're doing. Are you in bikini? You competing in bikini? Thanks for watching. Coach Ryan is out.